right,
lobefin fish that was discovered off the coast of Africa. It was around, I think it was a 300-million-year-old species that was believed to have died off hundreds of millions of years ago, and there they are, living in the deep waters off of Africa.
What would Meg have eaten?
Well, we know that Meg ate whales because we find whale fossils with megalodon teeth still stuck in the bone. But, they would pretty much anything they wanted, obviously, but whales were their primary staple of their diets.
I wonder if any giant squid have ever been attacked by the Meg.
Oh, I'm sure, and in fact, I have a new ebook out called Meg Origins. It's actually the prequel of the Meg series. It's available only in ebooks. And Meg Origins opens up with the HMS Challenger, which is the exploratory ship, which was the first ship to chart the oceans on a 4-year voyage. And they found thousands of megalodon teeth in the Philippine Sea, right around the Mariana Trench, and where the story takes place in Meg, and so there's a lot of eye-opening information right in that prologue that deals with the history of ocean exploration and where we find all these megalodon teeth.
What other creatures did you include in the book, Meg?
There are chronosauruses, which were a species that also in one particular genre of the species inhabited the Philippine Sea plate. So, they're active in the book, as well as other species that had come across in Meg Hell's Aquarium, which was the 4th book in the series.
If Meg was to be found today, where would be the most likely place that explorers would be able to find Meg? Again,
in the deep waters. You have to realize that we've only touched upon the deep waters. There are the surface waters, which go down to about 1,100 feet. And after 1,100 feet, light doesn't penetrate the deep, and that's where you have the biggest living realm on the planet, the midwaters, which are a couple miles down or 1,100 feet to a couple miles down. And there you have all sorts of different species that really we didn't know about until the Alten submersible came around in 1977. Then you've got the deep waters, along the sea floor, where you've got hydrothermal vents spewing these 700-degree Fahrenheit waters into the bottom, and you have a whole different life forms that live outside of photosynthesis, outside of the light, into a form called chemosynthesis. And chemosynthesis is chemical substance that enables tube worms to live and produce bacteria that enables them to live, and then fish feed off of that.
Steve, why do you think there hasn't been that much exploration done of these uncharted, unexplored areas? I find it ironic that we're spending all this money going to Mars when we should be researching and exploring our own planet first.
Well, we should be doing both, but the problem with exploring in the deep waters is the water pressure. Water weighs a lot when you get down that far, and the water pressure in the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean, is 7 miles down, and it's 16,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. Wow. And so you've got to develop machines that are able to operate in those type of pressure situations, and it's expensive and it's high tech, and it's actually easier to send a spaceship up into to Mars or the moon than it is down 7 miles deep.
I would imagine that with the new advances in robotic technology, that investigating the deeper aspects of the oceans one day is going to be a lot easier than it is right now.
Yeah, and it will be pushed by exploration that leads to profit. If there's money behind it, if they find some type of substance down there that can yield new energy sources or whatever it might be, then that's going to be the motivation to go down there.
That's scary, because if there is unknown life that we haven't discovered yet down in these trenches, which I'm sure there is, and we start the exploration of exploration for profit, as I'd like to call it, let's just take a look what we did in the Gulf of Mexico not that long ago. Just imagine the damage we do to the ecosystem that I imagine would be a lot more fragile due to the high pressure and so on in these trenches if we were in fact to go exploring and bang, we have another oil disaster like we had in the Gulf.
Well, I don't think they'll go down that deep to get oil. That's just too impractical. But one of the things that make Origins hints around that is that there are manganese nodules down there that could contain helium-3, and helium-3 is a gas that may make cold fusion possible. So if we can go down there to get it, then we may run into a megalodon or two.
Interesting times ahead. Steve, talking about monsters, Loch Ness. What's your take on the Loch Ness Monster?
Well, my take, which I've been on your show before to speak about, deals with my book, The Loch, which is a modern-day Loch Ness thriller that details what the Loch Ness Monster really is and what it's not. It's not a plesiosaur. It's not some friendly dinosaur that, that comes out in these Disney pictures. It's, it's not an air-breathing reptile. It's something a whole lot more vicious and a whole lot more cold-blooded. And I don't want to give it away, but my scientific explanation is based on some studies that have gone on in Loch Ness over the last 10 years.
So do you think that the Loch Ness Monster is being misidentified?
Oh, purposely, because, you have to realize that in the Loch Ness is the number 2 tourist attraction in all the United Kingdom. And people go there wanting to see some long-necked plesiosaur, and so they have souvenir shops set up with little plesiosaur stuffed animals, and they have boat tours of Loch Ness looking for these things, and they've got photos that have been taken over the years, and a lot of them have been fake. And but in reality, there can be a large species that inhabits Loch Ness, but it's nothing like they portray.
How long does it take you to do the research on your book? For example, let's use the Loch for now. How long did it take you from conception to the point where you actually started the research that you used in your book?
Well, research begins in the beginning of any project to make sure that there's a viable story, and it fleshes out the story, and then the research continues during the writing of the book. So from start to finish, with the Loch, it probably took about a year. From the start to finish for a novel like Grim Reaper, which was the most layered novel I've written, that one took 2 years.
What is your advice, Steve, for anyone listening tonight who believes they have a book inside of them, but they're just unwilling to take that chance? And, because a lot of people don't like rejection.
I offer free writing tips at www.stevealten.com, ALTEN.com, and so I can take you through a step-by-step process of what it takes to get published. But the number one piece of advice I offer new writers is don't write things that you think that you know. You have a story that took place, over the summer with your aunt Tilda or whatever it might be. Write about things that you like to read. Write about things that you think other people would like to read, and then go out and do the research and learn your subject. Because if I were to write about things that I know, it wouldn't be a very long book because I just don't know that much. But you have tools like the internet that you can, when you have an idea, will flesh out your novel and bring research and science into the book that that will make the story believable.
How do you think the internet has changed writing for authors like yourself?
Well, again, it's the most valuable tool that I have because it enables me to research details. For instance, when I was writing Grim Reaper, the story takes place in Manhattan. Well, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm not really that familiar with Manhattan, so I printed up, pieced together a giant map of Manhattan, and so when my characters are walking the streets, I'm walking the streets with them. I'm able to, access details about each particular street, what stores are there, what restaurants are there, what they're serving for lunch. And so, I want to make it as realistic as possible. I don't want to just create something out of thin air. I want something that's based on reality so that when I create the fiction part of the story, it's a lot more fun for the reader to read.
It almost sounds as if that you play the role of each of the characters in your book as you're writing it.
Well, you have to, including the Grim Reaper, because the Grim Reaper is a character in the story too. So, is the Angel of Death an evil figure? No, it's not an evil figure. It's a figure of death, and it has a history to itself.
You've written a book about The Lock. You've written Meg. You've written Grim Reaper. Tell me, do you think, or what is your opinion on life elsewhere off this planet? And do you, Steve Alten, think that this planet has been visited or is being visited by extraterrestrials?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've got a book that has been people have been waiting for a while. The third book in the Domain trilogy called Phobos, Mayan Fear, and the Domain trilogy is about 2012 and the Mayan prophecy, and the hardback of Phobos, Mayan Fear will be out in October. And one of the through lines of the story is that not only have we been visited by extraterrestrials, but they'll play an important part in 2012. And they are the reason that we haven't returned to the moon. They are the reason behind Area 51 and sightings that have gone on, and the military-industrial complex has kept that information to themselves for profit-oriented reasons, as well as others. And so there's a whole storyline behind Phobos, Mayan Fear that will come out in October.
Sounds exciting, Steve. Stand by, my friend. You and I have to take another commercial break. Always great having you on the show, Steve, and congratulations on all the great work that you do.
Thank you.
Exonation, Steve Alten is our special guest. www.stevealten.com, SteveAlten.com. Once again, Body, Soul, and Spirit Expo, February 17, 18, 19 at the International Center, 6900 Airport Road in Mississauga, Ontario. I'm going to be the Master of Ceremonies. We're also going to be having the X Chronicles booth, the X-Zone Radio show, X-Zone TV show, Paragators, Relmar McConnell Media. We're all going to be there. We'd love to meet you. So if you'd like to find out information about how you can participate, how you'd like to visit, or if you'd like to become an exhibitor, contact Chandler Armstrong at the Body, Soul, and Spirit Expo, their website, www.bodysoulspiritexpo.com. That's www.bodysoulspiritexpo.com. Steve Alten is my guest. We're talking about two of his books, or three of his books of this hour so far, Locke, Meg, and Grim Reaper, End of Days. My name's Rob McConnell. Steve Alten and I will return on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, Steve's website, www.stevealten.com. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written two outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com.